Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Dapo Adegboye. The top stories at this hour. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu re-elected as ECOWAS chairman appoints Domoye Faye as facilitator for negotiations with Sahel nations. SSANU NASU to begin nationwide protest on Tuesday, seek payment of withheld salaries. Egypt Sisi hosts meeting with key Sudanese civilian politicians, seeks end to war. Details in a moment. Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been re-elected as the chairman of the Economic Community of West African States about 1 year after he took over the leadership of the regional bloc. The Nigerian leader, who rose to power in May 2023, was re-elected as the ECOWAS chairman during the 65th ordinary session of the ECOWAS authorities of head of state and government. This event took place at the presidential villa in the nation's capital, Abuja, on Sunday.
For their steadfastness. Governance deficit and marginalization have strained social contracts, engendering bitter rivalries and unhealthy competition. To complicate the situation, our region has become the arena of geostrategic and geopolitical rivalries and the theater of misinformation and disinformation that engenders mistrust among and within communities and undermines social cohesion.
We must continue to identify and develop partnerships that promote investment in key sectors and promote regional trade. Furthermore, we must invest in our infrastructure and cultivate a conducive business environment to empower our communities to stimulate growth and build resilience against external shocks. Together, we can pave the way for a prosperous future for all ECOWAS sub-region.
The ECOWAS Authority of Heads of States and Government has appointed the President of Senegal as facilitator in negotiations with the countries of Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso in its effort to return the three countries back to the regional bloc. This was during the recently concluded ordinary session of the authority, where member states were tasked to raise about $2.6 billion needed for the regional standby force. In the meantime, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has reassured the Nigerian army of his administration's support in improving the security architecture of the country. The president, represented by the Minister of Defense, Mohammed, was speaking at the 161 annual Nigerian Army Day celebration hosted by the 3rd Division of Maxwell Kobe Cantonment, Jos, the Plateau State capital. Now, News Central's Chizoba Nyonwe was there and completes the report.
The Nigerian Army Day celebration at the capital city of Jos was filled with glitz and glamour to celebrate the successes of the army and to chart a way forward for greater strides. Those in attendance include the Governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and other service chiefs. The President, represented by the Minister of Defense, urged the leadership of the Army to make use of newly acquired combat enablers as well as other resources to ensure the new dimensions of the nation's adversaries are brought to a halt. He reassured his commitment for greater support to the Nigerian Army.
As your Commander-in-Chief, my administration is committed to building a well-equipped and truly professional army that will remain the pride of the nation. We are committed to providing you with all that you need and enable you to fulfill your constitutional responsibilities.
Okay, this one gets me.
Yeah.
With this display of equipment and skills, the Chief of the Army Staff is confident that sooner than later, insecurity will be reduced to its barest minimum.
The Nigerian Army, under my watch, is committed to improve our social effectiveness, to meet the ever-changing violence and armed threats to the nation.
There was a launch of these surveillance aircrafts as part of efforts to improve the security of the country. Some personnel were also decorated for meritorious awards by the Chief of Army Staff.
The 2024 Nigerian Army Day celebration has finally come to an end. It now behoves on the Nigerian Army, the personnel and the troops on the ground to ensure that all that has been said here today is put into practice for a more secure Nigeria. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyohi.
It has become a trend in Nigeria. Suspected criminal-minded individuals invade religious centers, especially churches, to vandalize property and equipment. Apart from these persons going to these perceived holy places to steal, it raises a question on where else is safe if the churches can now be raided easily, and the frequency it is happening across the country. In this special report, News Central's Austin Azu seeks to unravel the general collapse in our value system with the rise of theft cases in churches.
Religious houses are basically places of worship, but the rate of stealing oozing out from God's houses has remained a source of sorrow and tears to a number of Nigerians. More worrisome is the trend of suspected criminal-minded individuals breaking into worship centers like churches, mosques, among others, using these religious spaces to rip off their equipment. But some of these Christian faithful speak on why suspected criminals are stealing church equipment.
Many of them, because of the financial challenge confronting them, they see churches as an avenue where they could loot, steal things, and they will not be brought to justice.
Criminals are diverting to churches because they see that some churches have now become commercial centers, which is very, very bad.
Apart from insecurity, Nigeria, we are in hard times now.
Meanwhile, here at the Ekpan police station in Uya local government area of the state, these items that belong to churches and individuals seems to have been recovered from these suspected criminals that looted warehouses, burgled churches and carted away with these items and equipment ranging from air conditioners, sound systems, cooking pots, cooking gas cylinders, beds, gates, among others. In the same vein, this lawmaker narrated how his wife's shop was burgled, tied his 3 security men to chairs, and carted away with 112 bags of rice, solar, among others.
The 29th of May, I got a distress call from my wife that our warehouse was burgled.
The mouthpiece of the State Police Command, who briefed newsmen on how these items were recovered, said the suspects carrying out these operations used 2 Sienna vehicles and 1 shuttle bus to carry the stolen items. He said efforts are on to arrest other members of the gang and recover their operational vehicle.
What they do is that when they get to either warehouses, church premises, or places for reception, they tie up the security personnel around there. They're always armed with guns. They go with 3 vehicles, 2 Sienna vehicles, and a minibus. They open the boot and pack up everything they have there.
Some of those arrested in connection with the stolen items, both buyers and sellers, narrated their level of involvement.
I bought 22 bags for 60,000. Optimal rice.
Now motor now send me, may I escort before, but the load, so that load, so will not carry, they not supply the load out.
The people stay in scrapyard. They go come, they go like they bring a come. If they bring a come, I go sew into Arinze.
Nigeria, a country known for its rich cultural heritage and reverence for sacred places, has witnessed a decline in the sanity of these reverent places, leading to an erosion of the respect and protection accorded to the places, including churches. In Asaba, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Still talking security matters, two journalists, Abdul Ghaffar Alabelewe of The Nation and Abdurrahim Abdu of Blueprint newspaper, together with their spouses and kids, were kidnapped by bandits on Saturday night after they broke into the Dajonu community in Millennium City, Chukun local government area of Kaduna State. Alabelewe is also the current chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Kaduna State Council Correspondents Chapter. Farouk or Taufik Adeyemi, a relative of one of the victims, corroborated the occurrence and stated that the bandits broke into the area around 1:30 p.m., shooting randomly before committing their crime. Adeyemi said the bandits kidnapped Alabelewe, his wife, and two of his children, while Abdu and his wife, who was sick, was kidnapped, leaving behind the sick daughter. Let's move to political matters now. As political instability continues to plague Rivers State, some former members of the National Assembly, known as Rivers State caucus, have expressed their continued support for Governor Sim Fubara. For the forward movement of the state to continue, Governor Fubara has given his word to not allow the looming crisis to be a distraction to infrastructural development. Rivers State has faced political turmoil since the ascension of Fubara in office. Court of Appeal judgment in Abuja, which voided an earlier judgment by the Rivers State High Court, declaring the seats of 27 lawmakers loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territories, Wike, vacant. The appeal court's judge in the ruling held that the Rivers State High Court in Port Harcourt lacked the jurisdiction to rule on the validity of the defection of the Martin Amaule and his colleagues. Now, joining me on the news to make sense of this is Briggs, is a public affairs analyst. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Briggs. Now, let's start off with your recent take, or your take on the recent court judgment, particularly as regards the Martin Amaule faction, and of course the 27 lawmakers expelled from the House.
Well, the court has spoken. If you look at the merits of the case, the pro-Fubara lawmakers, led by Right Honorable Okojombo, approached the Rivers State High Court to restrain, amongst other things, the pro-Wike 27 lawmakers from parading themselves as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, having defected to the All Progressives Congress and sworn to an affidavit to that effect in a high court in Abuja, and whose seats have been declared vacant by the then Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Edison Ehie. Stop parading themselves pending the determination of us given. The pro-Wike legislators led by Right Honorable Martin Samehule approached the appeal court, citing that the Rivers State High Court lacked jurisdiction to entertain matters of defection ab initio. So the appeal court ruling held that yes, their claims were right, that the Rivers State High Court do not possess the constitutional jurisdiction to hear and determine matters of defection, that the right place was for the Federal High Court to have taken the jurisdiction. So nothing really has been gained or lost, but since it is a legal battle, there are two things left in the before the warring factions. Number one is for the lawmakers to approach the Supreme Court if they disagree with the verdict and order issued by the appeal court, or for them to go
I guess we are having a bit of connectivity issues with, of course, Mr. Briggs there. But if you can hear me, How much of an impact has this had on the Fubara-led government, particularly as regards governance of the state and the residents of the states as well?
Well, in terms of impact, no meaningful development will definitely take place in any society where there is political rancor and instability and uncertainty. So whether you like it or not, there has been some level of distraction on the part of governance, but going about delivering the dividends of democracy, I think that the governor still has some level of focus. He has not demonstrated in the way he has governed the state that, you know, the political unrest is really affecting governance. But we know for a fact that, you know, he would have achieved better, he would have done better if there was political stability. So yes, to a large extent, it has impacted. Look at what is happening in local government areas of Rivers State. They have been under lockdown by the Nigerian police force because of the governor. They've not been allowed access to third governance in that regard because local government councils have not been functional. Workers at the local government levels cannot go to work because their offices have been sealed. So to that extent, I think that it has negatively impacted governance at the grassroots level. But other than that, projects are being commissioned, projects are being commenced, flagged off across the length and breadth of Rivers State. But I think that as a public affairs analyst, I think very strongly that, you know, we can achieve more and governance can be better if there is peace and political stability to a large extent.
All right. Thank you for your time on the news, BIA Briggs.
It's a pleasure.
At this point, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's continue the news at this time by telling you that Nigeria's National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies has pledged its commitment to support the growth and development of young Nigerians that will help shape the future of the nation. This was made known during a town hall meeting and launch of the third fellowship for the Legislative Mentorship Initiative for Youths, saying that the program offers young Nigerians the platform to lead and make an impact in society.
NASU has consistently supported LMI program over the years. And now, as the institution and home of LMI, and we remain committed to strengthening its commitment to fostering the growth and development of young leaders who will shape the future of our nation, Nigeria.
To standing firmly behind you, nurturing your growth, and celebrating your successes. I salute you all. You are indeed the future of this country. And from all I have heard, that future is very bright.
Traders in Ariaria International Market, Aba, have called on the Abia state government to save them from the present environmental menace being encountered for over a year now, following the redesigning of the market. The traders say the situation has affected their health and also threatened their businesses in so many ways. News Central's Chinwe Ugele spoke with some of the traders who shared their experiences about the situation.
The major challenge confronting the traders and market are perennial flooding, disorderliness, overcrowding of the market with shops and filth. But with the design to remodel the market and make it standard since 2021, the situation has become worse for those who are yet to have their new shops allotted them and better for others in their new world.
Before you did the surplus for our side shop, for example, this was way for last night, he entered my shop or everybody's shop.
You can see in my shop now, for you to enter here is a very big walk, and even that's why the height of this shop now. Flood still enter this my shop. Even this when I pack water from this shop. So the environmental is very, very bad.
The bifurcation separating the newly constructed shops from the old ones has not only made the disparity in quality obvious, but pushed all the flood from the remodeled side to the other side. Not even the makeshift drainage dug by the contractor to collect the flood provided succor, as it becomes a health concern as well as environmental issue to the traders. The traders had to seek ways of keeping the flood out of their shops somehow while waiting for the remodeling to be concluded.
Like the gutter, this wasn't the size of this gutter before, but they expanded it. And we were hoping that once they are doing it, they want to give a solution for all they move the water from the market. But yet, is getting worse. The deepness of this gutter now can contain about, let me just say, 7 feet or 6 feet.
Traders demand speed in the execution of the contract to enable them have a conducive environment.
This man with the building has the contractor, no, they help us at all. It's very, very slow. Very, very slow, and he's pushing water for this side. So you're not thinking about this people, that people waiting for this side.
With over 37,000 shops and stores in Ariara International Market, the number of shops already remodeled and handed over is a far cry from what is yet to be achieved. In Abafo News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Let's also tell you that the United Nations has once again forecasted that by 2030, 82 million Nigerians, that is approximately 64% of the country's population, could face hunger. The organization urges the government to address climate change, pest infestation, and other threats to agricultural productivity. This warning follows a continual rise in food prices across the nation. The National Bureau of Statistics reports that in May 2024, Nigeria's food inflation rate reached a historic high of 40.66%, surpassing April's rate of 40.53%. This marks the most significant annual increase in food prices since record-keeping began in 1996. Earlier, we were joined on the news by strategy analyst Dapo. Oyewole. In the event of a flood, residents and emergency personnel face the risk of unclean water exposure, leading to various skin conditions. The uncertain contamination levels in flood water can cause infections, inflammation, and stress-related skin diseases, raising serious health concerns. News Central's Bettina Mweli tells us more.
Flooding can devastate our homes and our health, particularly our skin. Floodwaters teem with harmful bacteria, chemicals, and debris, leading to serious skin issues. This makes it crucial to prioritize skin care after exposure to floodwaters.
If I actually get home, I'm actually going to take a very good care of my skin. I will literally use hot water to bathe and antiseptic. Like almost, I will drown myself there for like hours because I have a very delicate skin and I react to little things.
There are creams that one can apply at least to take good care of the skin, to put it in order so that you are not infected with any disease.
Floodwaters strip your skin's natural oils, leaving it dry and irritated. It is important to avoid further exposure to contaminated water. If cleanup is necessary, wear protective gloves and clothing to protect your skin.
We have seen an increase in certain skin conditions as a result of the climate change. The warmer weather promotes the growth of fungal skin infections in particular. And worldwide, there has been an increase in fungal skin infections, and some of them are even becoming resistant to treatment. Skin diseases actually are one of the top 10 reasons for people visiting outpatient clinics or to see a doctor. And also skin diseases are one of the top 5 causes of disabilities amongst the general public. The first step to having good skin is to eat healthily, have a healthy lifestyle. So eat lots of fruits, vegetables, drink lots of water. Enemies of the skin like sugar, like alcohol, and then smoking. These are things that can damage the skin if they're taken, a lot or even at all.
Protecting your skin after floodwater exposure fends off infections and keeps it healthy. Your skin is your body's first defense. Experts urge us to treat it right, and it will do same for you. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Mwili.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says its operatives have raided the Lagos base of a high-profile cocaine syndicate, where large consignments of the Class A drug meant for export and local distribution were recovered. According to the NDLEA, the syndicate is headed by a couple, Agbakoba John Madu and Agbakoba Ijeoma Chinwe, as well as their associate, Okoye Ifeoma Mary Jane. The agency's spokesperson, Femi Babafemi, would disclose this in a statement on Sunday. Said the raid carried out by the Special Operations Unit of the agency followed months of intelligence gathering and surveillance on the syndicate notorious for packaging, distributing, and trafficking of cocaine within and outside the nation. The Non-Academic Staff Union of Education, Educational and Associated Institutions, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities have directed their members across the nation to mobilize for nationwide protest. This follows the recent breakdown of dialogue between the Ministers of Education and Labor and the Joint Action Committee of both bodies. In a circular directed to all branch chairmen of the two unions and made available to the media in Abuja on Sunday, the unions said the protest will commence on the 9th of July 2024 across the state chapters of the Federation, and a national protest in Abuja on the 18th of July. The circular was jointly signed by the General Secretary of NASU and the National President of SSANU, Prince Peter Adeyemi, and Comrade Mohammed H. Ibrahim, respectively. Some education stakeholders in Nigeria have called for efforts to tackle a learning crisis made worse by a lack of access to education in the country. This was during the launch of an initiative by the Africa Youth Growth Foundation expected to help Nigeria's government reduce the number of out-of-school children, which has consistently increased despite several efforts by the government to tackle this challenge. News Central's Idong Joseph tells us more.
According to a 2024 report by the United Nations Children Education Fund, Nigeria accounts for a large portion of out-of-school children globally, with over 20 million lacking access to education. The report further states that this represents about 96% rise from a previous 10.5 million in 2021. UNICEF identifies factors like poverty, insecurity, child labor among others for being responsible and calls for urgent action as they pose a death situation for the country.
A risk that in the next 10 to 20 years, if not addressed, could swallow the entire country, could compromise her development, her security, her livelihood, and collective existence.
To address the core issues outlined in Goal 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals, which emphasizes the need to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education for all, some families in the Kuromajiji community in the FCT have received support for their children.
Your commitment to covering the fees of 65 individuals, peoples, is a monumental contribution.
It's an initiative to support, among other objectives, enrollment of 2 million out-of-school children back to school in the next 5 years. We also intend to support teachers' recruitment and training.
While acknowledging the needs to complement government's efforts, some stakeholders have called for unity of purpose to encourage equal access to education.
Let us continue to support initiatives that promote education, skill development, and community engagement.
We sincerely hope that more organizations that are local, as well as private organizations, will be able to come up so that we are not all sitting on time bomb.
With Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, banditry in the northwest, and secessionist activities in the southeast, all identified to pose threats to efforts at making education accessible to children, stakeholders have called for a multifaceted approach to tackle these challenges. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The tech industry in Nigeria is a very robust one filled with promise and innovation. The industry, however, faces persistent challenges in the area of funding and deficient infrastructure for startups and established entrepreneurs alike. This next report takes a look at this.
In the fast-paced world we live in,
technology has become a crucial part of our everyday lives. In Nigeria, young people are leaning towards a future that offers them vast opportunities in tech. While they explore feasible possibilities, the challenges they encounter are quite daunting.
It has been a challenge for me, and also when it comes to payment, right, it's very, very, very low because most investors don't actually want to, invest into tech right here in Nigeria. We don't have a lot of people that actually believe in us, so that's just it basically. Yes, most Nigerians that are tech bros don't actually want to, get a job right here in Nigeria, all because they want to actually, get out of the country. And the reason behind that is all because of the currency. You know how dollar is right now. Everybody wants a remote job. Everybody wants to work from home. Everybody wants to, be hailing in dollars. So that's actually the main reason why we're having these challenges.
More often than not, tech companies require a healthy economic environment to thrive. For a country like Nigeria, where the growth of startups can play a significant role in the country's development, lack of access to funding and seasonal changes in policies contribute to the decline of tech startups.
Funding has reduced, or funding for startups reduced significantly in Nigeria to about $400 million last year, and in only 124 deals. So you see that it's a drop in the ocean when you compare it to the number of startups and ideas in the market. So that's definitely something that requires, the market seriously requires more funding.
The government policies are very necessary. Stable government policies. Everybody looks for a good economic environment, stable economic environments, especially investors. When you're trying to get investments from all over the world to invest in your tech startup here in Nigeria, the government policies or lack of specific government policies makes it very, very difficult to investors. So the tech ecosystem is suffering, not able to get as much investments as we were attracting a couple of years ago because of the government's different kinds of changes in government policies.
While obstacles persist, the outlook for Nigeria's tech ecosystem remains promising. With collective efforts and strategic investments, Nigeria can emerge as a formidable player in the global tech scene championed by its young minds. Chidinma Ona, reporting for News Central.
Nigeria's Yobe State Governor Mohammed made a compelling plea to international investors during a high-level investment and partnership meeting with donor countries and development partners, held at the Swiss residence and attended by the Ambassador of Switzerland and various United Nations organizations. The governor emphasized the urgent need for external investments to address the region's humanitarian challenges and displacement crisis. News Central's Umaru Karawa reports that Governor Mohammed highlighted the potentials for economic revitalization and the role of sustainable investment in fostering stability and growth in Yobe, as peace has finally been restored to the state. Expressing Switzerland's commitment to fostering partnerships, the Ambassador of Switzerland commended the governor's efforts to revive the local economy through strategic investments, signaling a potential influx of foreign aid and development initiatives. Coming up on the news, Egypt Sisi hosts meeting with civilian politicians. We have details of this and more after now. Hundreds of Kenyans gathered on Sunday in the capital Nairobi for a memorial concert following the deadly protest over tax hikes that saw the country's leaders scrap a controversial finance bill. The initially peaceful rallies, mostly led by Gen Z, spiraled into violence that left 39 persons dead, rights groups have said, and saw President William Ruto reject the bill containing the hikes and promises or spending courts. On Sunday, people streamed into Nairobi's central Uhuru Park from around midday to listen to performers and commemorate those who died. Large crowds called "Ruto must go," echoing demands made by protesters in previous weeks and waved Kenya's flag as they danced to medley of singers and performers. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has met with key civilian Sudanese politicians at a conference in Cairo to discuss an end to the country's 15-month war. The conference was attended by foreign dignitaries and officials from Arab and European countries. Meanwhile, representatives from Sudan's army-aligned government refused to meet face-to-face with key civilian politicians at a conference in Cairo to discuss an end to the country's 15-month war. They accused the politicians of being a front for the RSF.
لأنه نحن على قناعة راسخة لا يوجد حل عسكري لهذه الأزمة. يجب أن ندخل في عملية سياسية في حوار متوافق عليه ومهما كانت صعوباته ومهما كانت التحديات فيه هو الطريق الوحيد والأمثل لخلق سودان مستقر متصالح مع نفسه ومع جيرانه.
بينزف لما تكون النهارده 70% من البنية الأساسية مستشفيات ومدارس وطرق ومحطات كهرباء ومية تم تدميرها. طب ده الكلام ده هيتعمل امتى وازاي وبكام؟ في الحرب ديت الغالب والمغلوب خسرة لأنه هو على حساب بلد.
The French left is ready to form a new government, and Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said or should resign after predictions on Sunday showed the broad left-wing alliance could become the largest bloc in parliament ahead of the far right. This statement was made by hard left figurehead Jean-Luc Mélenchon. LFI's supporters gathered at a place Stalingrad in Paris burst into joy at the announcement of the results of the second round of the French general poll. In the announcement, the left wing is expected to win between 172 and 215 seats, according to initial estimates.
Un magnifique élan de mobilisation civique s'est affirmé. Et vous savez tous à quel point c'est remarquable, car nous sommes déjà dans l'été et le temps des congés. Notre peuple a clairement écarté la solution du pire pour lui. Ce soir, le Rassemblement national est loin d'avoir la majorité absolue que les commentateurs lui prédisaient il y a une semaine à peine.
Up next is business news.
In business, Nigeria's liquefied natural gas export industry is experiencing a significant setback due to feedstock shortages, resulting in a 13% drop in exports. According to the latest 2024 World LNG report from the International Gas Union, IGU, Nigeria's LNG export fell from 15.1 million tons in 2022 to 13 million tons in 2023. This decline has caused Nigeria to slip from 6th to 8th place among global LNG exporters, with Indonesia and Algeria moving ahead, exporting 15.6 million tons and 13 million tons of LNG respectively last year. The primary cause of the decline is the shortage of natural gas available for liquefaction, driven by factors such as declining output from aging oil fields and pipeline vandalism, disrupting gas transportation. The IGU also reported that Nigerian LNG declared force majeure on some cargo loadings in October 2022 due to significant flooding in upstream gas supply production regions, necessitating the shutdown of several gas production wells. While Ugandan consumers rejoice over the lowest retail sugar prices in 5 years, the sugar industry faces significant turmoil as sugarcane farmers, known as outgrowers, are protesting the sharp decline in cane prices. The price reduction is driven by an oversupply that millers attribute to rapidly shrinking regional markets. This oversupply has caused domestic stock levels to soar to unprecedented heights. In response to the falling prices, growers in the eastern districts of Buikwe have decided to stop supplying cane to the Legacy-based Sugar Corporation of Uganda Limited. The price of cane has dropped dramatically from 250,000 Ugandan shillings per ton just over a year ago to 140,000 Ugandan shillings. Millers warn that the industry could face further price declines and instability unless regional markets reopen to Ugandan sugar. Still in East Africa, in a bid to stabilize sugar prices and control prices for domestic consumers, Tanzania has implemented new regulations across the sugar industry. Parliament recently passed a bill amending the Sugar Industry Act. This grants the National Food Reserve Agency (NFRA) the exclusive authority to import, store, and distribute sugar for domestic consumption. Finance Minister Mwigulu Nchemba expressed confidence that the amended act will curb issues like arbitrary sugar shortages, hoarding by suppliers, and price inflation. These practices have plagued Tanzanian consumers in the past. That's our offering on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Up next is sports.
In the world of sport, Esther Kolawole and Christiana Ogunsanya, both accomplished Nigerian wrestlers, secured bronze medal at the 2024 pre-Olympic tournament held in Madrid, Spain. Nigeria's wrestling team is presently in Madrid as part of the training regimen spanning Spain and Germany in preparation for the Paris 2024 Olympics. Esther Kolawole, competing in the freestyle 62 kg category, expressed strong confidence ahead of our Olympic debut, aiming for a memorable performance with hopes of clinching a medal. Nigeria's wrestling team previously achieved a podium finish at the Tokyo Olympic Games, where Blessing Ogborodudu claimed a silver medal in the women's freestyle 68 kg category. Ogborodudu's achievement marked Nigeria's first ever Olympic medal in wrestling and the country's first silver medal at the delayed 2020 Olympic Games, following her outstanding performance on August 3, 2021. Abia Comets FC of Umuahia has released 21 players from their squad of 30 registered for the last football season. The club, known for their historic unbeaten run of 12 matches in the Nigerian League, expressed gratitude to the departing players for their contribution and wished them success in their future endeavours. The management communicated this decision via a memo to the players, who were also informed to collect their clearance papers upon request. Among those players released are Ikenna Einaya, Samadina Onyemaobi, Onoha Chukwudi, Kalu Onyekachi, Ayomide Tomoye, Jason Uket, Justice Moses, Koziza Msuta Alpa, and Ikenna Johnson Ogu, along with other players in the list. Madison Keys was overcome with emotions as she retired from her fourth round, the Wimbledon match, despite leading 5-2 in the final set. After struggling to close out the match twice, she called for a physio when her left thigh became problematic, eventually breaking down in tears upon her return. The American faced critical moments with 2 breakpoints against her, illustrating her physical distress. Initially aiming to seal victory at 5-2, Keys' injury became evident as her physio intervened before her next serve opportunity at 5-4. She received on-court treatment and later took a full medical timeout, highlighting the severity of her situation during the tense match. Ukraine's Yaroslava Mahuchik gave herself a perfect pre-Olympic tonic by setting a new world record in the women's high jump at a Diamond League meeting in Paris on Sunday. Just 3 weeks out of the Paris Games, reigning world champion Mahuchik set a new best of 2.10 meters. That mark beats by 1 centimeter the previous record set by Bulgaria's Stefak Kostadinova in Rome in 1987, one of the track and field longest standing. Mahuchik had entered the competition at 1.92 meters and despite 3 failures on her way to clearing 2.03, then passed at 2.05 meters. One jittery failure at 2.07 was swiftly followed by a successful attempt to improve her own personal best by 1 centimeter. Finally, in the world of sport, Lewis Hamilton broke down in tears in his cockpit after winning his first Grand Prix for almost 3 years in an incredible wet weather race at Silverstone. The 7-time world champion, from whom this was a record night British Grand Prix win, beat Red Bull Max Verstappen by 1.4 seconds, with McLaren's Lando Norris a further 6 seconds behind. As he crossed the finish line, the 39-year-old was choking up as he told the team, "This one means a lot." He later got out of his car and after waving a Union flag, held his father Anthony in a long embrace.
Hamilton's last victory came in Saudi Arabia in 2021, the race before the controversial Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where he was denied a record 8th world title. The wait for the first all-British podium for 56 years goes on. However, despite starting on pole, Hamilton's teammate George Russell had to retire with a suspected water system issue. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaru.
And that's a wrap on the news at this hour. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, re-elected as ECOWAS chairman, appoints Ademoye Faye as facilitator for negotiations with Sahel nations. We also told you that SSANU, NASU, to begin nationwide protest on Tuesday, seek payment of withheld salaries. And finally, we told you that Egypt's Sisi host meeting with key Sudanese civilian politicians seeks end to war. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live across these platforms: DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dapo Adegboye. Good night.